No helicopters have been procured for me to go to golf course. Thank you.
I've never said he wasn't a great politician. I'm just saying he's a officer.
It's supposed to be an interview.
How'd you play out there today?
Well, I found the conditions challenging, mostly because there's no grass on the golf course, but there never has been.
I'm thinking about the swag bag, and I had high hopes for the swag bag.
When you got 3 crevices on the green, your course is trashy.
What is happening, folks? Welcome back to the Beltway Golfer Podcast. This is episode 75. I'm your host, Alex Dixon. Got a fun one today. We have 6 different conversations all in one podcast with 5 longtime participants of the First Tee of Greater Washington, D.C. And then the episode is finished off with a chat with the executive director of the First Tee of Greater Washington, D.C., Mr. Clint Sanchez, who was actually on this podcast a couple years ago, episode 26, I believe. Really enjoyed meeting the 5 impressive young individuals that all get an opportunity to talk about their experiences and travels with the First Tee of Greater Washington, D.C., and also the impact it's had on their lives, both on the golf course and off, as each of them is either finishing up high school or a couple of them are already in college. But it was really great to meet all 5 of them. Before we get to the conversation in the podcast, couple other items. One, it's about a week out from when this podcast gets published, but it's our last event of the year, which is the Silver Dollar Shootout at Mount Vernon Country Club. Registration may be closed by the time this comes out. Still a few spots. Go check out beltwaygolfer.com and click on the Silver Dollar Shootout or click on outings, and you can see if there is still availability. But certainly want to thank the support we've gotten from all the folks that have signed up that are playing next week, but also the companies that have contributed prizes, tee gifts, auction items, and these include from companies like Golfdom, which now has 3 locations around the area with their main one in Tyson's Corner. But go check out their stores in Rockville and Annapolis. The Fairfax County Park Authority has really helped out with some of the auction items. We've got items from Cut Along at Lake Anna, from the Homestead, the resort down a little further southwest in Virginia, but also companies, Protag America. They make great coins. They made some really cool tee gift. Tyler Golf Bags out in California, custom golf bags. And the founder of the company was on the show down at the PGA show in Orlando. We're getting drinks provided by Four Craft Cocktails, a former sponsor of this podcast, as well as Port City Brewing right up the street from Mount Vernon Country Club. Also got prizes from the brand new simulator business right in Arlington, Virginia, Par City on Columbia Pike there. Check them out. Really grateful for all the companies that have helped out with this event, Silver Dollar Shootout. And thanks again. I'm really excited about it for all the folks that have signed up. If you want to get a last minute entry, go to beltwaygolfer.com or shoot us a message to see if we can fit you in. Also want to thank our sponsor for this podcast, who continues to sponsor this podcast, Union Green. Go to uniongreen.com and check them out. You can follow them on socials at Golf Union Green. We share their same message. We really like the vibe and the brand they put out, which is all about supporting municipal golf, supporting public golfers, supporting the notion of focusing on playing locally. They've got some quality products. We've been using their pin drop golf ball for quite a little while now. And you love it. Does everything I need for my game. Haven't noticed a significant difference from switching off a higher price ball. Right now, they've got a fantastic deal going on. Go check out uniongreen.com. You buy any 2 pieces of apparel and you get a free dozen of their T-Bird golf ball, which is a 2-piece ball built for distance, thrown in for any 2 pieces of apparel. Buy a shirt, buy a hat, get a free dozen golf balls. They got the T-Bird, which is their 2-piece. They got their pin drop, which is their 3-piece. And we got a discount code. Go to uniongreen.com, enter Beltway Golfer 20 at checkout. You get 20% off your entire order. By supporting Union Green, you're supporting this podcast. Proud to have them as a sponsor. Excited to have them as a continued sponsor. That is it. Let's get to the podcast. This is episode 75, conversations with Daryn Dickens, Joey Nguyen, Eugene Choi, Christina Fuentes, Diego DeJesus, and finish off with a conversation with the executive director of the First Tee of Greater Washington, D.C., Clint Sanchez. Hope you enjoy. All right, so we're joined by Daryn Dickens. Daryn, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. So I understand we just got introduced by Palmer Moody that you are a freshman at Howard. So you've only been in school for a few weeks.
Yes, I moved in August 10th, and then ever since then, I've just been living in D.C. as a college student.
So are you from this area originally?
Yes, I am. I'm from Alexandria, Virginia, so right across the bridge, 30 minutes away.
Oh, nice. Okay. Where'd you go to high school?
Thomas Edison High School, Fairfax County.
Nice. Okay, excellent. So let's hear how you got started with the First Tee. How long were you kind of a part of the First Tee?
So I joined in 2016. I started out at Langston just as a really young kid. It was more of so like just to see if I liked the sport. And then I ended up switching to East Potomac classes, I think around 8th grade. And then ever since then, I've stuck in East Potomac. I think I went to Fort Belvoir for a little bit. But I joined 2017.
Oh, that's good.
But I was running track at the time. And then I was like, oh, wait, I really love golf. And then I switched into more of a full-time First Tee participant.
So who got you to sign up? So you hadn't played, had you played golf at all? Or like was the First Tee, it's the first time you picked up a club?
So if you consider Top Golf the first time picking up the club, that was my first time. I used to go as a kid, like during the summers, but like it was more so of like a recreational thing. And I did not know how to actually swing a club. It was just like whacking the ball. But I got started into it because I went to the Spare right by my house and they had like this golf stand. It was like held by a PGA professional. And I like hit the ball like over the inflatable, like blow up golf thing, and the PGA professional was like, wait, you kind of have like a natural swing, like you have like the like you have something there that could be potential. So my dad ended up talking to him and he was like, well, you should try to get her involved and see if this could go somewhere. So my dad started looking into different programs in the area to like get me introduced to it, and the PGA professional had mentioned First Tee as a program, so my dad looked deeper into that. And we found like there were multiple locations around us. So we ended up going to Langston. He signed me up for a class. And then like it was more of a test, like test it out. And then that's just how I got into it. My dad just researched through the PGA professional.
I love it. That's great. I mean, people joke about, and Topgolf, claims to be kind of a gateway drug into the sport of golf, but you're living proof. You went to Topgolf and along with this exhibition with the PGA Pro. That's cool. So 2016, so like 7 years ago. And you stuck with First Tee all through high school?
Yes, I did. I never left. And I'm still kind of in it a little bit, like a graduate of First Tee.
Yeah. So now you're at Howard. Are you still playing a lot of golf? Like, is golf one of your main sports or hobbies? Is it still something you do a lot?
For sure. I'm not going to lie. It's been tricky to get out there, like go hit the course. I definitely miss it. Just definitely trying to find a routine to where I can actually start going back out again. Sure. But I definitely plan to like keep it in my life. There's no way that I'm letting it go.
Yeah. That's cool. Well, so one of the things I certainly want to kick off by talking about, I understand. So you were doing you're gonna have to explain it, but you had National Golf Day over, I guess, back in June here on Capitol Hill. You were taking part of that, or you were doing a presentation, and then they surprised you with an award. Why don't you tell us about it?
Yes, so I was invited by Coach Palmer to come speak at National Golf Day on the Hill, and I was really supposed to talk about my experience at First Tee and what it has done for me, like similar to what I'm doing now. But I was talking at National Golf Day. It was more so it was for like congressmen and congresswomen to come and hear more about golf and like funding and like just like advocating for golf. And I was chosen to speak there. And after I had given my speech, I was sitting down, and then they gave me I had applied for the First Tee scholarship, but like I hadn't heard anything yet. And they were saying like, oh, like, we're honored to present like this award to someone in the room. And then like my face pops up on the screen, and I'm like, wait, like, is this for my scholarship? And then my mom and I were just like, no way. It was such a great surprise because none of my coaches knew. Literally nobody knew. And I thought they did. And it was a complete surprise for everybody. But it was really, I was like truly honored. Like it was in front of like all these government officials and politicians. And it was a really great surprise.
Wow, that's that's really cool. I mean,
Yes.
so what goes into that scholarship? Like what aside obviously money for college, but
it
you know,
comes with
what is the whole
yearly
scholarship?
like annual meetups while I'm in college with other grad scholars. So I think it's from starting in class of 2020 and so forth to now, and we meet up, and it's all about building leadership and mentorship and helping us throughout college. We get mentors, and then also this past summer, I went to Jacksonville, and my class my class of scholars, class of 2023, we all met and met each other, and we were at PGA headquarters as well as First Tee headquarters, and we got to meet PGA at administration and leaders, and also First Tee as well. And we had large discussions about different team building, networking, and different things and skills that we will need through college and our professional careers.
That's cool. And sorry, the connection cut out a little bit on my end. You said you went down to Ponte Vedra for that?
Yes.
Oh, wow. And so how many of these scholarship award winners around the country were there?
About 23, I want to say.
Wow. Very cool. Had you already decided on Howard when you got that award?
Yes, I did.
Do I understand that a whole bunch of people in your family all went to Howard, right?
Yes, they did. So my mom went to Howard undergrad and law school, and my dad went to Howard Law School. And my brother, he is just a graduate from 2022 from Howard, and now he's at the med school. And now me. So
how do you view your time with the First Tee? I mean, you were kind of involved in the program for 7 years. I'm sure some of the people that are listening to this maybe have young kids thinking about joining it. Maybe they are young kids thinking about joining it. Maybe they're in it currently. I just, what has been when you look back on your 6 or 7 years with the First Tee, how do you sum it up?
Jeez, this is a loaded question because First Tee was everything. This question is so, it's such a big question because when I get it, it's all these emotions and memories just run through my head. First Tee was truly an awesome experience, from the places that I've gone to, the people that I've met, the things that I've learned. I guess when I talk about people, I think about my coaches and the other participants, and not just here, but across the country since I have traveled around. It's the connections, and they're willing to give back and help and support, in terms of the coaches, they're spending their time volunteering or working for us to teach us how to play and provide us those resources. And it really means a lot because they show care. I guess I talked about this before somewhere else, but I know it was my tournament for regionals for high school golf, and my First Tee coaches, Coach Katie, Coach Clint, Coach Roger, they all came out and supported me for my for my regional tournament. I saw them on the hole watching me while I'm putting, and I'm just wow, I can't believe I started out so young, and now I'm here with my coaches who taught me and supported me throughout all of this. Just here, it feels like the culmination of all that they've put into me, and also the people as well, my other participants, just growing up with them in the sport and seeing our personal growth in the sport and as people. That's been really amazing. I'm friends with a lot of them to this day. Still keep in touch, even planning on seeing them in the next coming months. And also what I've learned, I remember when I was first introduced with the PGA professional at the fair, and remembering how I really didn't know how to hold a golf club, and remembering the hot dog tuck and the samurai position, all of that stuff that I've learned from now, and even the core values that were implemented firstly, in First Tee, perseverance, integrity, responsibility, and respect, all of those things just transferred into my personal life and education. And of course, the experiences. I've, been able to go to national opportunities and events for First Tee, on the Capitol Hill, going to Florida a couple times, New Orleans, even Wintergreen, the UNC camp. It's so many things that First Tee has done for me and gotten me out of the DMV area through golf that it's really impactful. First Tee's really impactful, yeah.
It's really cool because I mean, do you attribute some of that to kind of sticking with it? And the reason I ask that is, I think a lot of people, and I think I'm guilty of this. So I have a 7-year-old son who just started with the First Tee and took some classes, and I think a lot of people might naturally think, oh, this is just an hour after school where I can drop off my kid and he's going to get get some group lessons. And that's all you kind of think of it. But like the way you just described it, it's, you know, like how does it become everything that you just said? Because it just sounds like so much more than that.
Yeah, no, it is. It's something that you definitely have to have an interest in the sport. But I really think First Tee does that. Like they really put through the activities and the games of teaching you. It wasn't just like someone just giving you lessons. It was Sharks and Minnows, the zoo game. It was football. Like it was small things, tic-tac-toe. It was those games that helped me, and the people and the participants and the coaches that like, I was like, wait, these are really cool people and I'm playing golf in a fun way. I want to know more about it. And of course it's something that you have to stick through, and you have to find interest in it. Like it's not for everybody, but it is a really positive experience that, and I guess like the peacefulness of the course was also another cool thing. I really love the golf environment. But it's something like if you are willing, like I know as a young kid, you may just want to do it for fun. But as you get older, if you see like, oh, I'm starting to do well in this, I'm starting to enjoy it, reach out to your coaches, show interest, tell them you have interest in it. And then they can provide you more opportunities as well. Like I know not only did I go to classes, but then I started getting into girls golf. I started to meet other girls who were interested in golf as well. You know, golf is a male-dominated sport. So
Sure.
To see other girls like me playing, and of course LPGA players that we get to meet through girls golf was like, oh, wait, like there are girls in golf. Like I want to be like them and playing with them. And then, of course, PGA Junior League, that was another big thing. That got me into competitive golf and I wanted to stay into it because I was like, I like playing in a team in a competitive way. It was more so like now I'm getting into the sport. But again, these are things where when I started to realize I had an interest, I wanted to explore outside of classes. Mm-hmm. And of course, I was telling my parents, hey, like, is there more things that I can do within golf? And that's reaching out to First Tee and saying, hey, what can we do? And then they have a plethora of options for you to take. And then after PGA Junior League, I went to Metro Tour. And that was kind of like the stage before I got into tournament golf, like with MAPGA and VSGA and Peggy Kirk Bell. That was just like kind of like an intro to tournament golf. And then I was like, maybe I can do this like for real. Cool. And it was definitely it's something that you have to have interest in, I will say.
Wow, it's a lot. So, and you talked about how, you know, it's giving you all these experience, including, you know, some included outside of the DMV. Obviously, Ponte Vedra, you already talked about, you know, going down to meet the other folks involved with the scholarship winners. But what are the other opportunities outside the DMV, or is this kind of you playing tournament golf, or are there others?
So there was, of course, tournament golf. I would travel outside of the DMV, but most of them were through First Tee. I went to Joe Louis Barrow Game Changers Academy in Philly. I was there for like a week or so. I played golf there, and also it was learning how to be a game changer, diversity, inclusion, and equity in golf. So it was like all kids from First Tee across the country met up for a week, and that's what we did. We had discussions about diversity. We played golf together. We learned about team building, all of those things. And then I also went to Detroit for a week with John Deere Academy. It was an all-girls national opportunity, and we definitely learned about leadership. We played golf as well, and we just had like group discussions about change. How can we like professionally? And that was really cool. And then I played in a tournament in Florida, Naples, Florida, with another First Tee participant. And we didn't win, but we had a great time. It was different challenges. Like, I think it was like a scramble, a shamble, and of course, like regular, but like choosing best ball. That was another one. And then I went to New Orleans for a tournament as well with 3 other participants, and we played in a tournament. But that was like, I think my first time going out. And I was like, oh, that was really cool because I'd never been to New Orleans before. But I think that was also like just kind of a start to my golf career as well.
Did you play golf at your high school?
I did.
Oh, you did?
All 4 years.
So golf is something that it sounds like even if you don't end up playing at Howard is something you're going to stick with is perhaps being a part of the First Tee in a coach fashion or something down the road. Is that something you might be interested in?
For sure. I think golf, the wonderful thing about golf is that you can play it the rest of your life. There's no, like, nothing stopping me from stopping at 20 or stopping at 30. Like, I can play it until, like, I'm 70. Hopefully, I can play until I'm 70 or even longer than that.
That's the goal.
Right, that's the goal. But even just staying involved with First Tee, they've done so much for me. There's no way that I don't want to give back to the same community that raised me up through golf. And just to get to see kids kids like me when I started, supporting them through that journey and also making sure they continue to have that interest and be able to experience the opportunities and resources that I did. That's really important for me. So definitely staying connected throughout First Tee in any way possible, for sure.
Well, I mean, it seems like, I mean, it's obviously it's hard to tell just through an interview, but it seemed like a very outgoing personality, very confident, very positive. You know, was this your personality pre First Tee? I'm not asking you to give First Tee credit for your personality, but has there been any impact there?
No, for sure. I think I've always been like a very outgoing, positive person, but First Tee has definitely given me that outlet to put that into effect in golf. I feel like golf is a really serious sport when it comes time for competitive. So staying positive is really important in golf. And there has been times where I've been not so outgoing and positive when I'm playing. And I've had to realize that, like, through golf and through First Tee, that, you know, when you have struggle, when you have, you know, roadblocks when you're playing, or even through life, like, it's important to remain positive because that's when you have the best outcome. So definitely I would say, like, I was positive before, but then when I got into it, I was like, uh-oh. And especially going in, like, transitioning to high school, transitioning to college, there's so many things. But staying positive and outgoing and looking on the bright side is just really important, because if you go negative, it's not going to be better. It's definitely not going to be.
Well, before we wrap it up, anything else you'd like to share about either your experience with the First Tee for any listeners, or, you know, anybody that may be listening thinking about joining the First Tee? Anything else you want to share?
Do it. Just like Mikey said, just do it. Join First Tee. If you are in First Tee, continue with it. It's not even, golf is a skill that everyone should know. It's something, no matter what field you want to go into in your future. Even just going out with your family and friends, it's such a great outing. And even if it is expensive, there are public courses, and there's definitely, of course, First Tee. If you're in it or you're not in it yet, join it, because they give you those resources to play, and you get to meet a whole new community of people. You get to meet people from all walks of life. You learn so much about other people. You learn so much about yourself. You meet fantastic people. You go fantastic places. Why not? There's nothing stopping you from doing it. Even if you are young, you can build those bonds. I will say, like, I've created a strong bond with my parents through playing golf. It's those long car rides. It's those weekends overnight. It's even going to the driving range or my lessons with them. It's amazing. It's really amazing. So just do it. Just do it.
Well said. I mean, not only could you be an ambassador for First Tee, but you could be an ambassador for the game of golf. Very cool. Well, this has been a pleasure. I appreciate you coming on, and the best of luck with your freshman year at Howard. And thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Dixon.
All right. All right. So we're here with Joey Nguyen. How are you, Joey?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing fantastic. I understand you're about to be a senior in high school. Where do you go to school?
Yes, I go to school at Lake Braddock in Burke, Virginia, and I'm a senior this year. I just finished up my first week, so happy to be back, a little sad to be back. I just looking forward to graduation in, I think, like almost 8 months. So that's the best year of high school. Your last one, you're almost done. So we'll get into Lake Braddock. I understand you're on the golf team there. Do I have it right that you started playing golf with the First Tee? Yes, I did. I started playing with the First Tee since I was around 7 or 8, and my First Tee class was at Fort Belvoir at the base, and I met Coach Katie there, who I've had a relationship ever since, obviously my first day of class, and that's just really grown. She went with me to Pebble Beach last fall, and now I still see her occasionally, and I'm going to see her at class in a couple weeks. I'm very excited.
Very good. Is this Coach Katie Blodgett? Yes,
it's Coach Katie Blodgett. I think she's now a program director for the First Tee, so it's very cool.
Yeah. So 7 or 8 years old, and you're how old now?
I'm 17, and I completed the ACE program, or I became an ACE participant last fall, I think. So just very full circle. Started from the beginning, and now I've grown through the program until like almost graduation. Mm-hmm.
That's cool. So 10 years with the First Tee, and you hadn't really picked up a club at all before going to Fort Belvoir and taking classes over there?
I mean, it's a really weird situation for me. My dad, he started playing golf like when he started like out of college. And when I was like really young, like he would, I think, go to the course at 6 a.m. and then I would watch him leave with the clubs. So I would sometimes tag along and hit a couple, but I would play softball and I did ballet and like other sports until I really wanted to focus on golf. And that's where the First Tee helped me really kickstart that. And that's when I started playing tournaments as well. That's like when I really picked up a club and said, this is really something I want to do. And I just went with it.
What was it about golf in that first year that you decided some of the other sports like gymnastics and others weren't as fun, or weren't for you, I should say?
I mean, for one, my dad was really involved in the game, so he definitely had a big influence on that. But also just the people that I met in the class and my coaches, they were very supportive, and just seeing them from week to week, they were really helpful in like my early development. Then as I got older, until I think maybe like 10 to 12, 13, I was able to go to the course on my own. And that's when I started to be able to meet other people that weren't really my age. They were a little older. And just like talking to them and hearing their experiences and stuff, that's something that you don't get out of like gymnastics or dance. You talk to people more your own age. So I feel like having that experience early on has just made me like a more diverse thinker and just has opened up so many doors for me in general.
Wow, that's really well put. So you were doing that when you're going to the course by yourself when you're 12 years old or so. What was your home course? Where were you going?
It was actually Fort Belvoir. I think my dad would drop me off at like maybe 7 or 8 a.m. in the morning. And I would meet my other friend who was also in the First Tee at the time, now graduated. And we would just practice, play there, talk to Fritz, the head pro there, and just have a good time, hang out, enjoy our summer. And just Coach Dave, also in the pro shop, I think he also does class at Belvoir still. Like he was like a big part in just like helping us have fun and just really teaching us to enjoy the game. So definitely owe a lot of my early First Tee days to them and just like where I am now.
So one of the things that, as far as just from talking to other folks involved with the First Tee, my understanding is that a lot of First Tee folks do stay with First Tee through high school, but the majority maybe, in those middle school years, sometimes they get busy with other activities or there's a lot going on. What made you stick with First Tee beyond 10, 11, 12, 13 and stick with First Tee through your high school years?
I would just say the community. I feel like being asked to come and play at certain like fundraising events or just being asked to volunteer or just given these opportunities from Coach Katie or Clint has really like opened my eyes to new experiences, like I said earlier, which is honestly better than probably doing any middle school, high school sport or high school golf. I would, not to say I would want to give up my high school golf team right now, but if I had to pick one or the other, staying involved in First Tee would definitely be my top answer. Just from a local perspective to national, there's so many opportunities to meet new people, and just especially now with the alumni network, there's so many opportunities like for jobs and just to meet people all over the country and just grow like your thinking, because definitely in the area, like you get used to like a certain clique, and then once you go to national opportunities, you meet people who have different slangs than you. So it's just really cool to have the opportunity to meet those people that are kind of like-minded as you. Like I'm more outgoing and I love talking, getting to know people. Now, like when you go to school, people like to go to the back of the classroom. I like to sit at the front. So just meeting people who have the same ideals as me and would be doing the same things as me in like the classroom and stuff like that.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about some of those opportunities? You had mentioned the Pure Insurance Championship, but you've been to a few out-of-town opportunities. Well, we can start with that. Tell us, like, what is the Pure Insurance Championship? Is a Champions Tour event, but how does First Tee involved with that?
It is a Champions Tour event, but it's combined with amateurs and First Tee kids as a 4-ball. So I played with Stephen Ames last time I was there for the Pure, and I think we didn't end up making the cut, but I had a great time. We both were struggling a little bit saving the pars and making the birdies, but it was really fun. And basically every single first tee junior is paired with a Tour Champions Pro. And each day you play with 2 different amateurs. So I think my first day I played with Jordan Thomas, who I think he's a double amputee, and he's done a lot for the first tee and just helping like other like youth that have gone through the same things that he has, which is really inspiring. And he's a really funny guy too. I think he's big on like social media, and he's just like a great guy to be around. And the next day I played with one guy he graduated from Dartmouth, and the other guy graduated from Penn. And one of them was like working on Wall Street at the time, which is what I want to go into later on in the future. So it was really cool meeting people like in those positions. Definitely something that if I wasn't in the first tee, I wouldn't be able to do.
And so how was Joey Nguyen the one chosen to play in the Pure Insurance Championship representing the first tee of Greater Washington, D.C.?
My chapter wanted me to play because I could shoot the handicap requirement, which is one of the biggest things that they stress, because they want you to be good enough to play Pebble and Spyglass, which, I mean, those are probably one of the most beautiful and hardest courses I've ever played. And they just had the U.S. Open there. And then the second thing... You just
slid that in. I mean, the courses that you're playing are those Pebble and Spyglass, are those 2 of the nicest courses that you've on your resume so far?
Oh, yeah, definitely top 5. And just, it's all 5 senses, right? Like when you see the pictures, you see it, maybe you can envision hearing it, but when you're there, everything is just in gears and you really take it all in. And just having my dad there and having Coach Katie there. I know Coach Katie's been a couple times, but just this time was really extra special for me. And I know my dad was just enjoying himself. He took like selfies in every corner. So it was a really good experience for everyone. Yeah.
So you met the handicap requirement. Do you remember what the handicap requirement was?
I think for girls it's a little higher. I think for girls it's 8, and then for guys it's 6 or maybe 4. But it's definitely in the lower single digits. So like I know Diego, he's going this year, and he's been working really hard to get his handicap down. I know that, and he's been setting like a lot of goals for himself. So it's amazing that he's going in.
Very cool. And so how many folks from the first tee were able to take part in that?
Well, for the past, I think 5 years, our chapter has had at least one person go. So I think before me, there were 2 people that went every year, and then I went by myself this year, and Diego's going to go by himself this year as well. Or I went by myself last year, and Diego's going by himself this year.
Very cool.
But it's not just the handicap that gets you in. I will say that. Yeah. There's an application that you have to fill out for every national opportunity. And in each one of those, it's more of like how first tee has impacted you. So you could be the best golfer in the first tee network, but not get in if you're not really that involved in the first tee, or if you don't really have something that you're passionate about, that you really don't have like a reason to be there if you're not really involved in the first tee, in my opinion. I think made it more unique, having like people that are really good at golf and also really involved in first tee.
Do you remember what maybe an abridged version of what your answer was? I think folks would like to hear that, of how first tee has impacted you.
Well, this is actually they actually had this on Golf Channel for one of their interview portions. I was interviewed by Susie Whaley about how Coach Katie really impacted me through the first tee, and how that kind of translated into my involvement in my school and just extracurricular wise. For me, Coach Katie was probably the most impactful first tee coach that I've had in my whole entire first tee career. She was the one she was the first person that I met on that first day. And from then, she's been there supporting me, giving me rides to wherever I would need to be, and just trying to be there and support me whenever she could. I know she knows some sports psychology. Like whenever I had some mental struggles on the course, she would always be there to help me through that. And just like her support, like she never stops giving, and just like having her there and being able to give it back through like my personal like endeavors is like really fulfilling for me.
It's quite an endorsement. And so I understand there's a couple other out of town opportunities you've gotten to travel and play, right?
Yes, I think I've been to most of the first tee national ones. I'm only missing a couple, but I like doing them because I like traveling and seeing new things. Like last year, like I said, I went to the Pure Insurance, and then I went to Montana for the Leadership Summit. We stayed on one of Arthur Blank's private ranches out there, and that was probably one of the best experiences of my life, hands down. Even though I fell off the horse, but I think.
So Arthur Blank? People know
that.
Arthur Blank is the owner of the Atlanta Falcons. He also owns the PGA Superstore franchise, and I know he's heavily involved in the First Tee. So what is the Leadership Summit? Is there any golf involved, or are you just going out there to network with other First Tee folks from around the country?
For the most part, most First Tee national opportunities are like one-day golf or a little bit of golf, and then the most of it is just like meeting people that are very influential and that know a lot about leadership, and just they're in very powerful positions, and just like meeting the people that are there, because I think it ranges from like around 24 to I think almost like 70, 80 participants depending on the event. So It's just about, like I said earlier, like forming that network and kind of just getting to know the people that are around you, because at the end of that 1 week, you get really close. I would say that because you're spending all day with them, and everyone is like-minded, as in they're outgoing and they're looking forward to meeting new people just like you. So it's just really easy to click and get along.
Wow. So it's really much more of a larger network opportunity from around the country. Like I didn't realize that. When I think of First Tee and you see these local chapters, I just assumed as my 7-year-old just started with the First Tee, did a couple sessions in the spring here at East Potomac, that you just go and do your hour or 2 hours, then come home, and that's it, without realizing there's this many more networking opportunities. Can you talk a little bit more about what you mentioned earlier on as well about the alumni? I think you call it the alumni network or alumni. I forget what you called it.
Yeah, it was the alumni network. I know it's something that First Tee headquarters has started to really emphasize, especially this year and last year, because there's so many influential First Tee alums now, and they can help you or any new alum get a job or get connected somewhere. And just, it's so powerful. Like when you know somebody and they might be involved in something that you don't even know they're involved in. For example, I think I went to this First Tee national opportunity, the John Deere Drive Your Future, which is an all-girls national opportunity. I think I went in 2021. A couple of the girls there are doing really amazing things now. I know one of the girls, Leah, that I met, she became a First Tee scholar, and she's done a lot of research in computer science, and now she's, I think, going to be a rising sophomore at Harvard, which is amazing. And then two of the other girls that I met, JC and Brianna, they're off at University of Michigan, and they're doing amazing things there too. It's an amazing school. So just definitely like meeting those people and being able to connect with them. Who knows where life will take them, but just knowing that I know them is like a cool thing.
Yeah. I mean, those are amazing contacts that I'm sure will be valuable for a long time to come. I'm sure you get asked a lot since you're going into your senior year in high school. Do you have plans yet are you still figuring that out for what's going to happen after this school year?
I'm still figuring that out, and college golf is definitely not out of the picture. It's always been a dream of mine to go D1. Still trying to pursue that and seeing what's out there for me, and if it works out. And I'm just still looking forward to the process, although it's stressful. But I'm looking forward to seeing like where golf can take me and seeing if that will lead to anything post-college.
Sure. And so how long have you been on the Lake Braddock golf team? All 4 years?
Yeah, my freshman year. So
oh, nice.
I think I've been, since my freshman year, and all the starting players were freshmen with me. So we've all just grown up together. I think we took like a before and after picture. I think our first match in freshman year and our first match senior year. And just seeing how much we've grown up is really special, and just having that bond with them.
Do they separate boys and girls teams at Lake Braddock, or is it one team?
It's co-ed. It's one team.
So Lake Braddock is Fairfax Public School. Are there many teams? Because I actually had a conversation on a recent podcast with a local private high school girls coach, and we were talking a lot about just like that whole. There's a lot of schools that don't have. They are co-ed either because there's not enough girls playing, or they just started girls programs. Are there many other Fairfax schools that have that separate? And I'm curious, in that case, how does that work when you play them?
It depends. So co-ed teams play against other co-ed teams, but along with that, I know some other schools in my district, they have a girls team as well, but the girls team have their own little league. but we don't really play against them until I think states, just because if you don't have a co-ed and a girls team, or if you only have 2 girls on the team, it's hard to do both.
So I also understand that this is a little bit of a family affair, that you've got siblings also involved in the first team?
Yeah, I do. My sister, who's now 15, she just went to her first team national opportunity, so very exciting times for her. And she went with a couple other participants from our chapter. She had an amazing time. And before, when I would talk about my experiences, saying it's like, oh, it's once in a lifetime. It's like going to be the best experience of your life. You're not going to be able to sleep the last night because you just want to hang out with everybody. Like, she didn't understand until she actually got there, which is something that's truly amazing. It's a completely different experience from like any other like high school youth program I've ever heard of or ever even been in. It's so amazing, like what golf can do for you, and like how this program combines golf with life skills, and how that like really projects how you think about like leadership and just other things like that.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking about that stuff when I was in high school. So good for you. That's fantastic. So you mentioned the first team national championship. Can you talk a little bit about that? Where was that in Stanford? Did I read that right?
Yes, I was out in Stanford, and that's Stanford's top 5 too. Gosh, it's really challenging course. I think one of the holes, there's a tree in the middle of the fairway, and I had to take a picture because I've never seen that. But it was really cool, and just being able to play with some of the top golfers in the country that are also in the first tee was just really fun. I know that they've had the national championship at Clemson and Notre Dame, I think, in previous years. And I think they're going back to Clemson next year. So hopefully I have room in my schedule for it next year, because I heard Clemson's really nice. So would love to go there.
Is there an age? How long can you be in the first tee? Does it max out at 18, or I don't know the answer to this, or can you continue to be a part of at some point? Do you transition into being a coach?
So after you turn 18, you enter the alumni network, and in the alumni network, you can actually still go to these national opportunities, but now as a chaperone. So I think when I went to Atlanta for the Leadership Academy, that one's also like an Arthur Blank one for the PGA Tour Superstore. We're at the Atlanta Falcons, the Atlanta United. We went to like all of Arthur Blank's sports teams in there. One of the chaperones, Vivian, who I met, she plays on the golf team at York College with a first-tee participant from my chapter, Matthew Salter. She just finished her freshman year, and she was our chaperone. So the age difference was only, I think, 1.5, 2 years. But definitely entering the alumni network, I know you can apply to be a chaperone and just relive your first-tee experience, but in
very cool,
an adult way. Exactly. Yeah, and then you can also become like a coach. Yeah.
Okay. So do you sounds like you plan on doing that?
Right now I'm doing like volunteer coaching. So hopefully in the future, wherever I am, I could do volunteer coaching, or I could become a coach like on the side. We'll see what happens. Just like whatever happens.
Cool.
Yeah.
I should know this, but in Fairfax, golf is a fall sport, right?
Yes. So I'm in season right now. We started at the end of July, and we've already finished our preseason. We had our, I think, second or third match of the season, and we beat not Alexandria City. We beat West Potomac by 20 shots. So very fun. Okay.
Well done.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, listen, this has been fantastic. I know you've got a big test tomorrow that you need to study for. You mentioned you got to study for the SATs. So I don't envy you, but best of luck.
Thank you.
But thank you very much for joining the podcast. It's a pleasure to meet you, and good luck with your senior year and your senior year golf season.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It was really fun. And I love talking. So anytime. Invite me back anytime.
All right. Eugene Choi. Nice to meet you.
Yeah. It's nice to meet you, man. It's an honor to be on the podcast and just being able to have a conversation with you. So
absolutely. So you're in your first week at the University of Maryland College Park.
I am. Yeah.
So first off, thanks for taking some time to hop on the podcast to talk about the first tee when you got to be having one of the busier weeks of your life.
Yeah, for sure. It's been very busy, but always want to talk about the first tee. It's just been a big part of my life for the longest time, and now like for the first time in my life, like I'm kind of like away from it a little bit. It feels kind of weird because for all the years before I went to college, I was kind of like right next to all the first tee activities, like near the golf course, but now I'm kind of like isolated in a sense. So it's a little different, but I'm still definitely like involved when they need me and stuff like that. So.
Really? So do you plan to stay kind of involved in some way while you're at school?
Yeah. So, I actually talked to some of the higher ups at the First Tee Greater Washington, D.C., like Katie and Roger and Clint. And they actually have a First Tee class, I think, at the University of Maryland Golf Course, which is like right outside my window.
Okay.
So I think they did mention that if they needed a little bit of support there, I would be totally willing to go out there and help out a little bit. And also just like anything else, like locally, in terms of when I was home, or if I could commute to something that they needed me out for.
Oh, that's cool. So are you in that dorm that kind of overlooks the 8th green and the 9th tee? That's right on the other side of the street.
Yeah. So I'm in Easton Hall. It's like the one you can see like from the golf course. It's like the only one. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. So how long have you been involved in the First Tee? Obviously, it sounds like it's had a big impact. When did you get started with the program?
I pretty much started with the First Tee when I started first playing golf, so around the age of 7. So it's been about 11 years now. So it's been a long time. I was back. Started with the First Tee when it was the First Tee of Greater Montgomery County, not Greater Washington D.C. So it was much more like condensed, and then it kind of expanded more and got bigger once the First Tee like became a bigger organization. Yeah.
So what golf course did you start at in Montgomery County?
I started at Needwood Golf Course because it was literally like right behind my house. So sometimes I walked there, and then I would get rides, or when I got older, I started driving myself there. But yeah, I started there.
So 10 years of First Tee, one of the questions I've asked each person, because I'm kind of curious about it, is I always had this kind of understanding of First Tee that it started around 6, 7, 8 years old, and you'd go kind of through middle school. And apparently some folks do, get busy with other activities, and that's kind of when they end their relationship with the First Tee. What made you kind of stay on going to the First Tee, going to their programs, going to their classes through high school?
It was definitely just like the golf itself. I think because as a lot of people that start out with golf kind of know, like that feeling when you hit like your first really good shot, like that pure shot that you hit, it kind of hooks you, and then you keep wanting to do it. And I was super athletic as a young kid. I played like almost every sport imaginable, and I picked up golf, and I really, really liked it. And I was pretty good at it because I had that athleticism, and I really liked it. And I really liked what the First Tee was like teaching me, like in terms of what they were teaching me to do off the course, as well as on the course. So we're talking about like life skills and like the 9 core values when those still existed in the program. And then on top of that, like the coaching that I was getting, and like first set of clubs is from the First Tee. And so like that was all put out there for me, and that just had me coming back on top of just like how accessible the golf course was to my house.
And so I understand you played some high school golf. Did you play on the high school golf team?
Yeah, I played on the high school team all 4 years.
So do you remember back when you were 7 years old, like just getting started with the First Tee? Was this something your parents pushed you into, or just kind of signed you up for, or was golf something you were interested in before that?
Yeah, I definitely was not interested in golf at the age of 7. I was a swimmer, runner, basketball player, soccer player. So when I moved into the house that my parents are like, my family is currently still living in, like near Needwood Golf Course, my dad was like, you know what, there's a golf course there. Let's see if there's anything going on to get you involved. It was First Tee. I got involved, and that's kind of where I am now.
Can you talk a little bit about just kind of how maybe First Tee, but even broader, the game of golf has kind of helped you prepare for college and help you through your teenage years in high school?
For sure, yeah. I'll start with like kind of the First Tee aspect. The life skills have been insanely important and very helpful. The coach that I had at Needwood Golf Course, Coach Adam, I've known him since like I started at Needwood 7 years old. He's been one of my greatest mentors because he really taught me like the essential skills to kind of life, like moving forward with life. So one of them, back when I was younger, was get my homework done on time so I can go to bed earlier and get up in the morning and get ready for school. And then as I got older, like another important one was like shaking someone's hand firmly and looking them in the eye when introducing yourself at any sort of event. And those just like small life skills and small things that I kind of picked up on kind of built up who I was throughout middle school, high school. And then now that I'm in college, I've kind of I've kind of collected all these skills like Pokemon or something. And like I have them all under my tool belt, and I'm able to like utilize them and go out and communicate with people. And then in terms of golf, getting into competitive golf especially, has taught me a lot of patience, has taught me the importance of like hard work, and that's really applied off the golf course as well. Obviously golf is a very difficult sport to master, and I've gotten pretty good at it, and I've been very like lucky to be able to even start playing golf and getting good at it and having the funding to do so. And so that's applied. The hard work ethic is applied off the golf course in the classroom as well, and did very well in middle school, did well in high school, and hopefully looking to do well in college as well with that same work ethic.
Excellent. And I mean, I understand you qualified for a state tournament or two at Magruder where you played low single digit handicap. Are you play any club golf or any competitive golf like at Maryland?
Yeah. So I played at states my junior, senior year of high school. I'm a 2 handicap right now, and I'm planning on playing for the club golf team here at Maryland. So we actually are just about in the process of starting up tryouts. So I actually went out and played around yesterday at the Maryland golf course. And so, yeah, I'm kind of getting started with practices within the next 2 or 3 weeks. And that's pretty much the brunt of what I'll be doing competitively. Other than that, I'll kind of be like out on my own practicing and kind of staying in shape by going to the gym and eating well and stuff like that.
That's cool. I understand for club golf at University of Maryland, don't they have like a competitive group and a recreational group? Isn't that how it works?
Yeah. So they have like a competitive A team that like travels together to most of the tournaments. They travel in the spring to invitationals, like out like to different parts of the country. And then there's also like a B team that kind of like stays more local, and then everybody else is kind of just like on the team to kind of like play golf and have fun as a team. But in terms of like A team competition, I think that's kind of where like me and like 1 or 2 of my other buddies from back home that also came here kind of sitting at. So it should be exciting to play for the competitive team and just keep like grinding it out against like kids from other schools like I did back in high school. So it should be good. Yeah.
That's cool. Anybody else like on your high school team involved in the first tee, or were you the lone first tee participant in the competitive side?
For the most part, I was really the only one on my high school team. Everybody on my high school team kind of, Magruder was not, don't get me wrong, like Magruder is not a golf powerhouse at all, but I was just very fortunate to have a very good crew of golfers the last 4 years. And we came from like everywhere. So we were from all over the county, all over Maryland. I think half of the team wasn't even supposed to go to Magruder, but we all ended up together anyway. So most of them were mostly just like golfers. I got into it early, but I was really the only first tee related individual.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but the Maryland State Golf State Tournament is at the University of Maryland golf course, right? So you know that course pretty well.
Yeah, I know the course very well, and it's actually a course I really like playing because I played pretty well at states the years I was there, and I think it's just a good course to play at. It's always in good condition, and it's really nice. So
what do you have plans for your time at University of Maryland aside from playing club golf?
Yeah, so I'm a public health science major here at Maryland with the intention to try to move into medical school after college. And so that's kind of like my long-term goal is to become a pre-med, pre-health student. So I've kind of already started taking steps towards that, like with my major and talking to like my advisors. And on top of that, I think I also am considering a 5th-year option here at Maryland to get my master's in public health science. So I would graduate in 5 years with a bachelor's and a master's in public health, and then try to move into some sort of post-college medical school or health profession based on what I feel like doing after I'm done.
You got it all figured. You haven't even been in college for a week. You got it all figured out. It's impressive.
Yes. Yeah.
What is the first week been like for you on campus?
It's been very chaotic, but I've kind of like found my thing. I think all through high school, I kind of like hammered down a sense of like discipline into myself. That's definitely something that the first tee kind of like built into me over the years, which is amazing because back in high school, like I played a lot of golf. I had the freedom to do things that I wanted to do, but I would always prioritize my studies, and that did me really well. And I did well in high school, and I brought it off to college with me. So it's been pretty crazy, but I've been on my schedule. I have a schedule for when I go to the gym. I have a schedule like for my classes, obviously, and like I found times to study and also just like relax with friends and go out and do all of like the fun stuff that's available for me at College Park. So
That's cool. What is it about? You're the third person I've interviewed about, as part of this program for the First Tee. And obviously everyone's talking about how First Tee has instilled in them these kind of core values that have really helped them. But what are they doing at these classes? I'm sure if you asked teachers at your high school, they would say this, they're trying to instill the same values. What is it about First Tee that these things are having such an impact and sticking?
Right. Part of it, crazy enough, is like the games that we play. So sometimes they're really simple games, but they're like weird games. So we'll play we'll play games where our coach will set up string lines on putting greens to make them super weird putts, and it's kind of like a putt course, where if you putt the ball and you go over the line, you have to put it back in the spot that it crossed, and add a stroke, and then you finish it out. You play 4 or 5 holes, and then you kind of come back all together at the end and see what everybody scored. And so that's all. That's a game to not only improve your putting, obviously it's speed control and being able to read the contours of a putting green, which are golf skills. But then at the end of the game, it's also a life skill, because they incorporate things like honesty into that, because you're keeping score of your own number of putts that you've made. And if you go out there and say I had 26 putts and you're the winner, but you didn't actually have 26 putts, then what does that teach you about yourself? You have to be honest, on the golf course and off the golf course. And it kind of instills in you, okay, this is a responsibility that I have to carry with me from now on. And it's all conveyed to you through games of small games of golf. And that's really where it all comes from.
I love it. That integrity piece, especially playing competitive high school golf. Did you ever encounter a lack of integrity out there in high school competitive golf?
A couple times. For the most part, I've been pretty lucky in terms of where I've traveled and played. I've played with a lot of people, and I've met a lot of different interesting people. But for the most part, most of the people have been pretty honest. The integrity is there. I can't really think of any crazy examples off the top of my head. The only one that I can think of is my junior year during the Magruder golf season. I played with a kid during one of our high school matches. I didn't it wasn't a super competitive thing. You just kind of went out after school and played 9 holes with your guys. But I do distinctly remember we played a course somewhere in Montgomery County, I don't remember, and he teed off on the first hole with a white ball, hit it into the trees, and then at the end of the hole he was playing with a yellow ball, and he said he found his ball, and I think he made a par or something, and I was just that seems kind of crazy to me. So that's one example I can think of, and I do remember having a good laugh about that with my teammates after that. But other than that, it's all the guys in Maryland and everybody that I've ever met, for the most part, the honesty, the integrity is all there. So it's really not just the First Tee thing. It's definitely it's a whole aspect of golf itself, and junior golf for sure. If you had never signed up for First Tee back when you were 7, how different would you be? That's a good question. I think I don't think I would be the person that I am today. I think in terms of the values and maybe the lifestyle, I think that would have been similar, just because my parents, my parents are very, they obviously instill a value of working hard and studying and staying on track, all those things, very hard onto me. So I think it would be pretty similar, but in terms of certain golf skills and certain life skills that I've kind of picked up and improved on over the years, I think I would probably be lacking in some of those departments if I had never agreed to go to Needwood Golf Course for my first tee class. So yeah. Well, you're a pretty impressive young man, and it seems like you got your path for the next 4, maybe 5 years kind of figured out. Are you so into the game of golf that you see yourself playing this game for a long time, maybe even getting involved in the First Tee as an adult? Yeah, for sure. I think it started out as a joke with some of my buddies that I play with just around here that we like to play together. And I was telling them before we all left for college that we'd all be 60, 70, 80 years old, playing in the local country clubs senior championship, and just beating the second place person by 30 strokes, because of how long we intend to play golf for, just because it's the longevity of the game itself is just so good, and you can just keep playing until you physically can't anymore. In terms of getting involved as an adult later on in my life, I think I I definitely will. That's definitely something I'll look to do, because I think depending on where I'm living, I do want to have kids, like long term. Like I want to have kids, and if I can find a first tee around like where I'm living, they will be in the first tee. And in the near future, I think if they do need me to volunteer over at the Maryland golf course for classes, I totally will. Interning is something that I would have to look at just based on how busy my major is, because I'm an aspiring pre-med, pre-health student. So we'd have to see how that fit into my schedule, but I'd always be down to help out with the Greater Washington, D.C. chapter, considering how much they've done for me over the last couple of years.
Very cool. Love it. Best of luck with your freshman year and your time at University of Maryland and your time on the University of Maryland club team.
Perfect. I appreciate you having me out here on the podcast. It was great to talk to you. It was just great to talk to someone about like what I've been doing with the first tee and how it's like really like applied to my life like now, like as a college student. So it was nice.
Awesome. So we're here with Christina Fuentes. Christina, how are you?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. So as I understand it, you are I was about to say rising junior in high school, but I imagine school's already started. I know my kid had his first day of school today.
Yeah, we had school starting last week, so still got a lot of test quizzes coming up already. So it's just, really like into school.
And where are you in high school?
I go to West Potomac High School in Alexandria.
On the golf team?
I am, yeah. I'm actually the only girl on my golf team, so.
What's that like?
It's definitely been an experience. I was also the only freshman when I started, so it was like kind of, I didn't really know if it was the stuff I was experiencing just because I was like a grade disconnect or if it was just because I was playing with all guys. But I mean, it's definitely gotten a lot. It's changed a lot as I've grown on the team. Like I said, like when I started my freshman year, people wouldn't really talk to me that much, but now it's, a lot different. People are a lot more open, and I feel like now that I'm an upperclassman, I'm kind of becoming one of the leaders on the team, so I kind of am going off to those people. If that makes sense.
That's impressive. So that's almost like a double whammy. So you're the only freshman and the only female on the team. How big is the team? Like how many people are on it?
So my freshman and sophomore year, it was 10 people, but this year they upped the size to 12. So it's a pretty small team, but we do cut a lot of people though. That's one thing, because we practice at Belhaven Country Club, so like we cut people so that way we're not taking up too much space at the country club.
Do you have to compete for one of those spots right alongside the guys, or do you get in and compete because you're a girl?
Yeah, so in Virginia, it's the teams are co-ed. So most schools have honestly more than one or two girls. Some schools are mainly girls that they're playing from their 6. I guess sadly, like my school, it's just me. But yeah, so I'm considered, I guess, just one of the 6, male or female. It's not like it's 6 guys and however many girls go out. So I do have to compete for like one of the 6 spots. So yeah.
So when you're one of those 6 spots and you show up playing, 3 or 4 other schools and you're at your foursome at a match, is it often you and 3 other guys? Yeah,
pretty much. I mean, there's a couple schools in my district that do have a good amount of girls, but for example, like the last school we played, it was all guys on the other team, so it was just me out of both schools. But it really just depends on the school. But again, most of them are mainly guys. So
that's cool. So you're here for talking about the first tee. You got your first tee of Greater Washington D.C. polo on. How long you been involved with the first tee?
A long time. I think it's been about 9 or 10 years almost. So it's been a while.
And you're how old now?
16. So
16. Okay.
About 9. I'm going on my 10th year.
Got it. So you started when you're 6 or 7. So you've been going for a while. So I had this conversation with another young lady who also plays high school golf in Fairfax. Are you friends with, or do you know Joey Nguyen?
Yeah, we actually played her school last week. So her school is one of the schools that has a good amount of girls on their team. I think they have 4, maybe 5. I don't know. But they play a lot of the girls for their 6. I think almost half their team, I think, was girls.
And so one of the things I asked her, because so you've been in first tee 10 years, and like I'm just getting my kid involved in the first tee for this year for the first time. He's only 7 years old. But, talking to some of the first tee counselors, I was under the impression, or I've heard that there's a significant number of kids involved with the first tee that once they hit high school, maybe either get less involved for a variety of reasons. They just get too busy.
Mm-hmm.
But so my question to you, which I also asked Joey, now you're a junior in high school and still with the first tee.
Mm-hmm.
What made you stick with the first tee and stick with it into your high school years?
I mean, honestly, for a little bit, I kind of didn't really stick with the first tee. I was like one of those kids that went off and kind of did other things. And really that was kind of because of COVID. I wasn't able to go to classes, and then I started high school sports. So I was like doing other things too, because I played softball. So that was like a big chunk of my like spring. And so I was really, there's like a year for me, my freshman year, where I really wasn't too involved in first tee. And I really felt like I was missing out a lot. I was missing out on the connections I made. Like the first tee, I mean, or if you look at like the 9 core values and everything, they really teach you so much. And just being involved in the classes and the programs and going to different like events and everything, like it really does help you kind of grow and get better. And that's something you need when you're in high school, which is really why it's so sad that a lot of kids do kind of go off and do other things, because you don't learn the things I learned in high school softball were nowhere near what I learned in the first tee. So kind of getting back into first tee now, I volunteer at younger kids classes. I go to, obviously I'm still in my classes of myself, but just being in the first tee classes are just so amazing. So it's you kind of like, I missed that and I wanted to go back, and I realized like how much I needed it.
That's cool. And I would think a lot of people would think that you're getting what you need to become a better golfer and you become a better person from being on the golf team. But obviously it sounds like first tee is kind of teaching you or showing you some things that you don't get from the golf team.
Yeah. I mean, really with high school golf, I think it's more just the golf. You don't really learn the life skills like you do in first tee. I mean, obviously you're going out there every day and practicing and, going to the course, but there's no 9 core values, and people don't necessarily have the best integrity, for example. So it's like when you're at first tee, you're learning about that, you're using that. And even though the classes are only once a week, you gain more from that once a week class than you do from the 4 or 5 days of high school golf.
Integrity is a big one. I imagine, because I remember my high school days playing golf. And I didn't play high-level high school golf or anything, but integrity was a big piece of it. Because it was kind of the first time, you're a young teenager, and it's the only sport where you're not being supervised, especially, in practice where your score determines if you make that match. And there's not really any other sports where, there's this kind of honor code on, what you shot. And so integrity is a huge piece. And I could see if you're seeing some people lacking that, that could be frustrating.
Yeah, it definitely is. And that's one thing like with high school golf where I wish more people were honest. It definitely takes away some of the fun of it when you have to constantly be on your playing partner. Like, hey, I don't think you got a 5 there. I think you might've gotten a 6 or whatever it is that, they're doing to shave strokes, but.
So are you the only person that that has been involved in the first tee on your team?
There's one person on my team who's a volunteer. He volunteers actually with Joey for a class, but I'm the only person who's ever taken first tee classes or been in the program side of it, like gone through any of the levels or anything like that.
So when did you decide, because going back when you went out for your high school team as a freshman and being the only girl on the team, at what point when you were involved with the first tee did you decide, hey, I want to do this in high school, and I want to play competitively?
Well, I have 2 older brothers, and we all started first tee at the same time. When I was 7, one was 13, the other one was 11. So we were they were on the older side, and so they both played for my high school. So I kind of knew going into high school that I was going to be the only girl, because I mean, that's always kind of what it's been like at my school. Just never really any girls. But I saw them on the team. I wanted to be kind of like them, I guess, be on the team like them. And so I guess kind of when my brother started high school, a couple years into first tee, and then I guess kind of once I was like a more secure player, I guess, not necessarily good, because I guess it takes a long time to get good. Golf's a very high sport, but once I kind of was, shooting consistently, I was like, yeah, I think I can make the team. I wanted to try and make the team. And yeah.
Well, that's cool. I understand. I was forwarded some notes kind of just on some of your achievements. And one of them, I can only wish for either of my sons, because I know I fell well short of it. You got a 4.0 GPA.
Oh,
I can't imagine. What's that?
4.38, if you want to weight it.
4.38. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I don't even want to ask how you go above 4.0. I'm sure some advanced classes and stuff. But I can't imagine, I'm not going to try to get you to give first tee credit for that, because I'm sure you had some you have to have some really good skills and a good upbringing to have that kind of discipline. I'm sure being involved in the first tee for this long, and you talk about those 9 core values, has the first tee impacted you outside of playing golf in the classroom?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, just going integrity again. That's one of them for sure. Obviously, I'm not going to go out there and cheat, because I know better than that. I know to do the right thing. And then perseverance, you could say, if I'm struggling in a class, I'm still going to push through. I'm not going to try and drop it or anything like that. I'm going to, stick with the class, do my best, stuff like that. I'm honest.
Well, since you have, you're clearly very, very bright with a 4.38 GPA, and I wasn't gonna put you on the spot like this, but you have brought up the 9 core values a couple times. And 2 years ago, I had Clint Sanchez, the executive director of the First Tee of Greater Washington D.C., and I put him on the spot and told him, give me the 9 core values, and he was able to do it. Can you list the 9 core values?
Yep. Confidence, honesty, integrity, perseverance, sportsmanship, courtesy, respect, responsibility. I might have gone over, but respect, judgment, responsibility.
That's impressive. So yeah. I understand this past summer you also got to take part in one of the First Tee programs up in Philadelphia, the First Tee Game Changers.
Yeah.
What is that all about?
So it's a national opportunity. I believe it's 72 participants from all around the nation. We stayed at Villanova University, and it was kind of just, we did workshops on diversity, equity, inclusion, kind of being leaders to be game changers in our communities. And that's kind of what we learned about. And then we also got to play some fun golf. We were able to play at Marion, which was a very fun experience.
Really? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
how was that? What was that experience like?
It was a lot of fun. It was a beautiful course. It was just amazing. But
how many First Tee kids got to play Marion?
It was all 72 of us. So they had us do a little 4-person scramble, shotgun start. So yeah, it was really fun.
Man, I went to the U.S. Open at Marion in, 2011, I think, when Justin Rose won. But that's the only time I've been on property, so I'm jealous that you got to play it. Has your time in First Tee afforded you to play any other, not necessarily as nice as Marion, but any other top tier courses?
This summer I played in a First Tee tournament where one day we played at TPC Potomac, so that was another really nice course.
Absolutely.
We played Riverbend through the First Tee. A lot of the country clubs in the area have played all through First Tee events, just a lot of great courses.
That's pretty cool. You mentioned that your high school team, you practice at Belhaven, West Potomac. You also took part. I understand you were a counselor at the summer camps there, the Belhaven Golf Camp.
Yeah, I was for a year. I worked there as a camp counselor. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. What about the coaches at First Tee? You've been involved for 10 years. Any coaches that you'd like to give a shout out to that have been particularly impactful for you?
Yeah, I mean, I've been involved for such a long time. I feel like there's so many coaches, but definitely Coach Katie. She's a big one. She's been there since I was in the beginning since I first started, and she just really always been there for my family whenever we needed it, and just been there for me. Coach Maggie, she left a couple years ago and became a coach at First Tee of Philadelphia. She was another great coach, very supportive. And then more recently, Coach Nat and Coach Jose, who Coach Jose I attended Game Changers Academy with, and he really helped me and supported me there. And I think a lot of it, I was able to win the Outstanding Participant Award there. And I think a lot of that was due to him kind of helping me and pushing me to kind of open up to other people. And then, like I said earlier, Coach Nat, he was just
former Olympian coach Nat.
Former Olympian coach Nat, yeah. He's just so nice and supportive and always there when you need him. And I was sad when he left, but.
So what does it take to earn that outstanding participant award?
Really, I'm not sure. That was at Game Changers Academy.
Oh.
So it was like they split us up into different color groups, and so I went for my color, and there were 4 color groups. So I guess, I don't know, I think it was something like being the most, I guess, not necessarily outgoing, but actively participating and really bringing the most to like the discussions. Because at Game Changers, there were a lot of tough discussions that we had regarding diversity, equity, inclusion. Those were the main focus of what the workshops were. And so a lot of it made you uncomfortable, some of it. So I think I was willing to put myself out there and, feel uncomfortable. And I guess that was, I don't know, the coaches there really felt that I was deserving of that award.
What would you say to someone? I imagine a number of folks listening or watching this maybe have kids or will have children at some point and considering the first tee. What would you say to a parent who's got a 6, 7, 8, 9-year-old and they're weighing enrolling them in first tee versus private lessons, for example, or a one-on-one coaching?
Yeah, well, what I would say is definitely go with first tee. I mean, it's going to teach your kid more than just golf. And I think, especially if you're starting that young, you can get burnt out very easily if you go the professional coach route, the private lesson route. So by going with first tee, you teach your kid the life skills, lessons, the core values, and then also they're able to play golf with a group of people their age. So they can make new friends. They can, learn and grow while others are learning and growing. And just being involved in the program as well is just having first tee is just an amazing thing to have. And you don't get that really anywhere else with other sports or just with private lessons. Cause again, it's more than just the golf at first tee.
What about a kid who's thinking about leaving first tee in 8th grade? Any particular advice or benefits that you've seen? I guess we already touched on it a little bit, but now that you're a little bit more mature, a little bit older in high school?
Yeah, I mean, just stick with it. You may not like it now. You may find like your parents are pushing you too much or something, but I think you'll find like the love for golf on your own if you stick with it. If you really, and again, just to stress like the life skills, lessons, core values, all that really applies in high school. You really need that when you start going into high school, and it's becoming more of like a kind of, you're becoming more independent and you have to really push yourself, and having those core values in the bag kind of can really make the difference. The first year really helped with my confidence. That's one of the core values. And definitely when I was like a little kid, I wasn't very confident. Even as I grew older, I still kind of wasn't super confident. But when I got to high school and I started, because with COVID and everything, first tee classes were stopped. And then when I came back from high school, when I started high school, when I came back to classes, because that was kind of around like the time COVID was, I guess, like wrapping up a little bit, not right. Stuff was like opening up and everything. And it was finally like getting completely back to normal. I feel like I really became more confident, and I honestly credit that to first tee, because I think a lot of people changed during the pandemic, and especially because of the age I was in middle school, and that's when you really go through, I think, your main changes in life, your main changes as a kid. And without first tee, without those couple classes, one class a week, couple classes a month, whatever, I probably definitely wouldn't be as confident as I am today. Like I don't have an issue going up to people and saying hi or introducing myself or whatever. For example, at Game Changers Academy, I didn't really know anyone. Obviously, it was my first national opportunity, and there was kind of some awkward moments in the beginning where we just had some free time, not really much to do while people were coming in, and I was just like, going to people like, oh, hey, like, where are you from? What's your name? And then we kind of started talking a little bit, and then I was like, oh, we should, get some cards going, and then we ended up playing in like a little card game, and I got like a whole bunch of people came in. It was like started with like just two girls in there and me and 2 other girls, and then it ended up being like 15, 16 people, whatever, and then we all just started playing cards. And I definitely wouldn't be that confident without first tee to just go up and talk to these people I've never met before and start, playing a game with them. But
That's excellent. That must have been a tricky age to go through COVID, because you must have been, were you right in middle school when all that happened?
Yeah, I really didn't go to middle school at all because I had half a year in 7th grade and then half a year of 2 days a week in 8th grade. So
do you think that, and not just you, but your peers as well, what kind of, like, being in middle school when all that happened and essentially losing an entire year of school, I mean, what kind of impact did that have just kind of on your own growth?
I mean, I think like most kids definitely don't have the same level of maturity, I think, as they would otherwise. Like, people do things that's like, you're 16, why are you doing that? I think that's partially due because they basically lost 2 years and they're acting like they're 13, 14 when they're a whole lot older. So
interesting. Well, it sounds like First Tee helped you advance pretty quickly. What about that you just mentioned, the love for golf? I certainly have the love for golf. I think most people that listen to this show have a love of golf, or else they wouldn't have found this podcast to begin with. What makes you love golf?
I think probably just the fact that I can go out there and play terribly and still have fun, and it's like all about like you can only blame yourself really if you play badly, I guess. Because I play another sport, softball, and I mean, if we're about to lose, like, if the game's on the line and you're not up to bat and we lose, you can kind of, I guess, put the blame on the other person. But it's just like what?
I said all you can do is watch.
Exactly. All you can do is watch. You can't be proactive, I guess, or not proactive. I don't know what I'm trying to say here, but you. Yeah, no,
I know where you're going. That's interesting though. So softball is your other big sport, and softball, I played some baseball, golf being so individual, even though you are part of a team in your high school team, but they're very different. The experiences are very different. Being in a team atmosphere like that, you were kind of going into that. Do you have a preference of one of the other? Not necessarily your specific team, but just, that experience?
I don't really consider high school golf as like my favorite part of golf. I think if I was going to go with the high school sport itself, I enjoy softball more because I like my teammates. I really only started playing softball when I was a freshman. I ended up making varsity, so I was like, okay, I'm going to stick with this, I guess. I'll play softball on the side, whatever. But I get like golf in general. I love golf. It's my favorite sport, but I guess high school golf is not always as fun.
I can see that. That's interesting that you said high school golf is not your favorite part of golf, or what you love about golf. What is your favorite part of golf?
I think just going out and having fun with your friends, like just going and playing. I'm not a huge fan of competitive golf, honestly, because I think I get in my head a lot, and then I guess struggle to play well, and then it just ends up not being as fun. But when I'm just having fun with friends, I don't care what I shoot. I don't care where the ball goes necessarily. I'm just out there to play golf. That's the most fun part for me.
I think that's a great lesson for a lot of people. I think a lot of people think golf is all about competitive golf, and a lot of people get too competitive in golf when the reality is what you just said, going out and having fun with your friends and maybe not even keeping score. What about just kind of in the world of golf? Do you watch professional golf at all, men or women?
Yeah, I do. I don't really watch a lot of TV, honestly. But yeah, I do like to watch golf. It's just fun to see, and it's crazy to see what the pros can do. I know I could never, ever do anything. Like, I was watching the Tour Championship yesterday. I could never get anywhere close to any of the shots they were making. But
is there anyone kind of in the world of golf you particularly look up to or admire? And doesn't have to be a professional golfer, even, in the YouTube or social media world or whatever.
I'd probably say Harold Varner III. I know he's like kind of an interesting, I guess, player. He's on Live, but all the way back in, I think, 2015 or 2016, back when they had the Quicken Loans here still. I know it's now the Rocket Mortgage, but they had it in this area. My brother, first he gave my brother the opportunity to play in the program there, and he played with Harold Varner, and he was such a great guy. He literally let me walk in the ropes with my brother, and like he was super nice to me, and I was just like a little kid just tagging along kind of, and so he's definitely someone I look up to. And then also he does like a lot of good with his charity, and he's like very supportive of the First Tee, so I'd say probably Harold.
That's good. That's a good one. That's a great answer. I mean, it's hard to find anybody that doesn't like Harold Varner. He's clearly he's a good dude on and off the course. That clearly shows. Yeah. It's amazing what an impact. I mean, you hear stories like that all the time, but something so simple like letting a younger kid walk inside the ropes when they're playing in a program can have such a lasting impact that you don't forget anytime soon. They become your favorite athlete. Well, very cool. Well, listen, Christina, it's pleasure to meet you. Pleasure to chat with you. I wish you nothing but the best of luck in this golf season at West Potomac and finishing out your high school career, both on the team, but especially with the first tee.
Thank you.
All right, we're here with Diego DeJesus. Diego, nice to meet you. How are you?
I'm great.
So before we get into your exciting recent week out at Pebble Beach and all things first tee, I understand you just had a big day for your high school team today. What happened?
We had our regional tournament today, and we placed second overall with our team. So our team's moving on to states next Monday. It's the first time in Edison history. So
that's what I was going to ask. Edison High School. Where is Edison exactly?
Alexandria, Virginia, on Franconia Road.
What year are you at Edison?
I'm a senior. So this was my last year to make states, and this is the year we did it.
Oh, man, that's exciting. So your states is next week?
Next week, Monday.
I actually just had a podcast with the Langley High School golf coach, and I know that they're class 6 going down to play in Harrisonburg. Is that where is your state championship in Harrisonburg as well?
That's where we're going.
Nice. So your first one ever. So you've been playing on the team for how long?
All 4 years, from freshman year to senior year.
Nice. I hate to ask, but what position do you normally play on the team?
I played the 2 today, but me and the 3 switched, the 2 and the 3, so I'm around there.
All right. Well, best of luck next week in the States. That's exciting. First time ever in the high school. All right. Well, so we're gonna get into Pebble Beach. You just went out to Pebble Beach for a week, but before I do that, you got your first tee shirt on. You went out with representing the first tee of Greater Washington, D.C. You're a senior at Edison High School. How long you been playing golf and working with the first tee?
I've been working with the first tee for 10 years, and I started with the first tee. My dad introduced me to it when I was young, and ever since I just stuck with it and kept going with them. Were you a golfer before your dad got you with the first tee? Not really. I joined when I was 7, so I was just getting introduced to the sport because my dad played too. He played back. I think he started when he was around 20. So, yeah. Nice. I think each person I've talked to as part of this podcast, one of the recurring themes is, so many people within the first tee, they take the lessons, they do the classes, but then around middle school, a lot of folks kind of move on to other things. But you, like many of the others that I've interviewed, have kind of stuck with it through your high school years. What led you to that decision to stay with first tee through high school? I think it's all the opportunities like throughout the first tee that you can do, like national opportunities and just the events in your own chapter. That's why I stayed. Nice. Well, certainly a big event. So last week, as we just alluded to, you got to represent the first tee of Greater Washington, D.C. at Pebble Beach in the Pure Insurance Championship. Yes, so first off, how did you come to be the person to represent the first tee of Greater Washington, D.C.? So you have to go through the application process. You need to put your tournament scores in, community service. You have to write some essays, letter of recommendation, and then that gets sent off to the first tee, like HQ, I think. Okay. And they pick from like 1,000 kids. They choose 80 from the United States, like from all around. And 80 kids go to Pebble Beach. So it's an application process that's kind of a mix of skill and kind of everything else you've been doing with the first tee. Why do you think they chose you? I think because I've been with the first tee for 10 years and I helped a lot with the first tee. Like after classes, I would stay and help the little kids and all that stuff. And I have like other community service hours outside of that. Can you kind of walk us through some of the experience at a Pebble? Like first off, the tournament, and feel free and correct me if I'm wrong over here, but the tournament's a Thursday through Sunday tournament. Like what day do you go out? It's Friday through Sunday because the champions, they only play 3 days. Oh, so. 3 days. Okay, right. Thank you. We got there Monday just to check in. So like the jet lag, get rid of all that. So I was nice and fresh on Tuesday. Tuesday, we had the pairing party at the end. That's where we all met together. We met all the 80 kids and then we figured out who we were playing with. So when we got there, they had a closest to the pin challenge. So you would hit the ball and then they'll display your name and who you're playing with. So the 5 closest won $1,000 for the chapter, and I was the 3rd closest, so I got $1,000 for the Greater Washington, D.C.
Out of 80 golfers, you were the 3rd closest.
Yeah.
How close were you? This on like a practice hole or like one of the real holes?
I think it was like on the range, but they had like green out there on the range. So
okay,
I think it was 5 feet.
Not too shabby. See, $1,000 for the chapter,
Yeah.
and then they put up in lights who you get paired up for the week.
Yes, sir.
And who'd you get?
Tong Chai JD.
Were you familiar with Tong Chai before this event?
No, not really, but I did my research, and he was one of the like best Asian golfers in the world. Like on the Asian tour, I think he's #1 in the money list, so it's pretty good.
Is he? I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I'm certainly familiar with his work and I've watched him, but I don't know his career all that well. To be quite frank, I didn't even realize he was that old. I didn't know he was on the Champions Tour until I saw some of the highlights. So that's the first day you guys are doing the closest to pin event?
Yep, on Tuesday that was a little pairing party
Before the tournament starts, are there any other kind of events, or do you get to play a practice round, anything like that?
Yeah, we had practice rounds Wednesday and Thursday. Wednesday was Pebble, Thursday was Spyglass.
Oh, nice. Am I correct in assuming that you had not played Pebble Beach or Spyglass before?
Yeah, first time.
Had you played golf on the West Coast before?
Nope, first time too.
That's pretty exciting. So, what was that kind of experience like? Just in the practice round, getting out there for the first time.
So my first practice round was at Pebble Beach, and that was it was amazing. Like I was just starstruck by all the views. I was just taking it all in. So it was just amazing. Like the course was beautiful condition, fastest greens. It was windy too, though. The wind was blowing.
Are you practicing with other first tee participants or with some of the Champions Tours players, with Tong Chai, or how does that work?
If your pro invites you, you can play a practice round with your pro, but if not, you just play with 3 other first tee kids like what I did.
So what was it like playing, once you got started, what was it like playing with Tong Chai? How was he as a playing partner?
I mean, it was just watching the pros it's unreal. Everything is just nice and easy swing. They just send the ball far. Everything, their routine is just incredible.
What kind of interactions did you have with him? Did you guys have a lot of conversation? Did he give you any tips? Did he anything rub off on you?
Yeah, he gave me a few tips. He's just telling me like stick with the basics, don't get too complicated, and then just focus on the next shot and don't worry about what happened in the past.
It's pretty cool. Coming out of Pebble Beach, there's so many famous holes at Pebble. Obviously, number 7, the par 3. Number 10, that you got multiple forced carries with beach right there on the right. 18, obviously. Did you have any memorable moments on Pebble, especially or any favorite holes?
I think 7 was up there for sure, just because the view, and number 7 was the one right on the coast.
I did see on social media just yesterday that NBA Hall of Famer Dwayne Wade, I think he's on.
Yeah.
just got a hole in one up there.
Hole in one.
Were there any aces during the Pure Championship week? Do you know?
I think there was 1 in a practice round, but other than that, I think that's it. I remember last year there was like 6 of them or something.
Was there really?
A lot last year? Yeah.
So so at this event, so Tong Chai, he went on to win the event, right?
Yeah, he won the whole thing.
So when you were playing with him, like what kind of scores is he shooting? I should have looked at the scorecard. I haven't looked at the scorecard. But what did he shoot when you were playing with him?
The first day he shot 2 under.
Okay.
And then the next day he shot like a 65, 7 under. He had 7 birdies, 5 in a row.
5 in a row.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
I was watching. I was like, wow, that was something else. I'd never seen that before.
Are there a lot of patrons out there? Are people watching this event? I mean, I know they got cameras out there. Is there an added level of pressure, playing in an event like this?
So we had the first tee time at Pebble, so we were out at we were at the range 6 a.m. pitch black, and then we teed off at 7. So at that time there wasn't really like any spectators other than mom, dad, brother, my first tee coaches. So I was just trying to focus on my game and really shoot the lowest score I could.
Oh, that's cool. So you had your whole family out there. That's pretty nice.
Yeah.
So do you guys stay like in a hotel there? Are you staying at the resort? Are you guys renting a house? What is that?
We stayed at an Airbnb in there.
There you go. what's your takeaway kind of from the whole week? I mean, now that it's over, it's kind of a once in a lifetime experience. You know, I've been playing golf for 30 years. I've never played Pebble Beach. That's your first round of golf out there, and you're playing kind of one of the best courses on the planet.
The whole experience is once in a lifetime. I never would have thought I would have been there if it wasn't for the first tee. Like, I don't know what. It's just unbelievable.
So you've been with the first tee for, you said, 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
First tee's given you some opportunities, you know, like this. Obviously, this is a huge one. Can you talk about just the, you know, what first tee has kind of provided you as far as, you know, the player that you've become, the person that you've become, where maybe you'd be without first tee?
So growing up, they'd like they have giveaways so you can get clubs and all that if you couldn't afford them to help you out with that. And then they taught me like the 9 core values really helped me shape who I am, integrity, honesty, all that good stuff.
You've been 10 years is a long time. Have you gotten an opportunity to do any other kind of out-of-town events with first tee or travel with the first tee to other national experiences?
I think Pebble Beach was my first national event, but I've been going to a lot of the ones in Virginia, like in our area. Like this last summer, we had the Wells Fargo Championship over here at TPC. So we had a little pro-am thing with Special Olympians and veterans, and then it was us and one of the champion pros. So we played a little 4-ball scramble, and my team got second place, so they gave us a little trophy for that.
That's fast. When you said you started first tee when you were 7 years old, you were kind of new to golf. Just played at Pebble Beach. You're going to states next week. You're number 2 on your high school team. You know, where do you see yourself with golf going forward? I mean, are you gonna stick with it?
For sure. I'm trying to play in college, so I just have to figure out where. There's a lot of D3 schools that I could go to, but keep getting better this winter, keep grinding, and then we'll see next spring where I'm going.
Have you finished your experience at the first tee now, or I'm genuine question? Like, once you're a senior in high school, is there more you can do?
I'm still doing the classes until I turn 18, which is next April. So right now, I'm just keep volunteering, helping the kids, and then if there's any other opportunities. I know they're doing a lot of alumni stuff now, trying to get people to do some of that. So we'll see.
Well, I wish you the best of luck next week at States. Anything else you want to share about your experience with the first tee or experience at Pebble?
If you can join the first tee, join. It's a great program. They'll get you straight. You'll have fun. There's a lot of events with the first tee, so it's most definitely worth joining. And from Pebble, I took away. So I missed the cut by 1 stroke. So
Okay.
it really made me think every stroke counts. I tried my best and just look at the positives and not so much the negatives, and just try and take away as much as you can from that experience.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, I actually played with the kid in the practice round that won it. We're pretty good friends, so yeah, kind of glad he won it.
Oh, that's cool. That's excellent. And what is some kind of prize that goes to the chapter for the winning team?
I think he got his trophy, and then they said he gets unlimited Chipotle for that year, so that's pretty cool. Yeah,
that's a nice little bonus.
Mm-hmm.
Well, congratulations, man. That's pretty cool. I'm still looking to make my way out to Pebble. That's exciting that you got to do it. Did you? Which one did you prefer, Spyglass or Pebble?
I think Pebble for the views, but if we're talking about just the course, Spyglass. I think Spyglass also has amazing views too, but I think Spyglass was tougher.
What's the 16 is the amazing par 3 at Spyglass, right?
Mm-hmm.
What'd you do there? Walk me through that hole.
16.
And it's okay if you put it in the water. And that's probably what I'd do.
What did I do at 16?
You must not have done bad on that hole, or else that's the one you'd be.
I would have. Yeah. I don't really remember.
What about 7 at Pebble? Do you remember what you did there?
Oh yeah, 7. So in the practice round, it was it's 105 yards, playing downhill. So it's probably playing 95. But with the wind, we played at 160. So I was hitting an 8-iron, and so it was gusting. Mm-hmm.
Because this is downhill too, so it's playing one. Yeah. It's playing 105 with the going downhill, but that's a 50-yard win. That's crazy.
Yeah, I think I put it pin high and 2-putt par. I was like, get out of there with the par.
Absolutely. I know you've had a long day. You guys just qualified. You probably want to either get some sleep or celebrate. I don't know what you're doing, but I appreciate you taking some time to chat with me and tell us about your experience at Pebble. Pretty awesome. And best of luck to you next week at States.
Thank you very much.
Clint Sanchez, how are you? Executive Director of the First Tee of Greater Washington, D.C., who's been on this podcast before 2 years ago. I had to look it up. How's everything? I thought it was 3. Time is a flat circle. It's tough to keep track.
Yeah, no, I got you. Well, it's always good to be with you, Alex. And I know we saw each other a couple weeks ago at Riverbend. It's always good to talk to you, no matter the circumstance.
Yeah. So one of the things I want to ask about, and I encourage anybody listening to go back and find that podcast we did with you. It was at a Langston Golf Course with a couple coaches, including Coach John Garner. It seems from the outside looking in that you guys have been growing in the last 2 years. Has there been a lot of growth as far as, the size of the program, the amount of locations, that sort of thing?
Yeah, there really has. I'd say especially in the last 3 or 4 years. But yeah, the organization has grown a tremendous amount, Alex. I mean, just to think that 10 years ago, we were just operating in Washington, D.C. at the aforementioned Langston Golf Course, historic Langston, which you talked about, and then at East Potomac. 2013, we were just at those 2 golf course program locations. But then we grew to Northern Virginia, as you know, in 13, and, that helped our growth a lot. And then 2017, the First Tee of Montgomery County, interestingly enough, consolidated their operations with us. And so we grew our territory in that regard, which brought on several more program locations. And then I mentioned the growth of the last 3 or 4 years, because in 2019, really 2020, we expanded into Prince George's County. There had been a chapter in Prince George's County, the First Tee. Unfortunately, they had lost their charter. It was county run. And so we came back in there in 2020, right at the end of the year. Obviously, we wanted to start earlier, but because of the pandemic, we didn't start until September of 20. So that brought on, 4 or 5 more program locations. So long story long, here we were 10 years ago. We were at 2 program locations in the district, and now we're at 22 program locations across the DMV. So a lot of growth.
Wow.
But yeah, the last 2 to 3 years, we brought on about 5 more program locations.
Wow. So the 22 and a program, is all 22 program locations, is that 22 golf courses, or some of them not at golf courses?
No. So that's why it's a green grass facility. So most of them, Alex, are golf courses. I would say 19, 20 are golf courses. There's a couple just driving range onlys, like Dulles Golf Center is a driving range only, and then only golf park. I think those are the 2 that are the outliers there that are just driving ranges. I might be missing one, but I think it's just those 2. And Fairfax Golf. Fairfax Golf is the other one. So we have 3 that are not traditional golf courses.
I should know this. Is Fairfax Golf is that the indoor facility or the driving range out there?
That's an indoor. That's a complete indoor facility.
Yeah, I've been there.
That's a newer program location for us. Probably about 2 years in the making, maybe 2 or 3. Yeah.
I don't know what I'm thinking of. There's a driving range out in Clifton. I think I get it confused with. What about? So this, but the listeners don't. I think I've mentioned it to a couple of the kids I interviewed as part of this podcast. But I got my own son into First Tee this spring. He enrolled for the first time when he hit 7, and just as being like my first experience, enrolling my own son into the program. These programs and these classes, they're in demand. It's not automatic. Like you're gonna have a spot. How big do you have any idea of like how many kids total, like ballpark, are like in your program?
Yeah, we're going to be right around 2,000 kids this year.
Wow.
That's unique kids. That's, if your son, he registers in March for the Spring 1 program, then you register him again in the summer, he still counts as one. So yeah, it's 2,000 kids. We'll be close to that number, maybe a little bit under, but it'll be within 100 or so of that number. And that's across those 22 locations, obviously 2 states in the district.
So
it is an in-demand program. You're absolutely right. It's, it's grown a lot, and it's grown a lot through, word of mouth, but it is definitely in demand.
Is that relatively new? I mean, you've been in this position, correct me if I'm wrong, about 10 years?
Mm-hmm. 10 years. Yeah,
and
11 years next month. Yeah, 11 years.
11 years. Well, congratulations. 4, 5, 6 years ago, was that different where you're really trying to have to sell these programs, or has it been like that since the whole time?
I think it's always, Alex, I honestly think it's always been in demand, especially in the last 8 or 10 years. What's just changed is where we're programming, I think there was a need for it in Northern Virginia. There was no first tee program in Northern Virginia. There was a small chapter in Prince William County, but nothing in Loudoun or Fairfax counties. And so, I think the area it filled up fast. It certainly helped with Fort Belvoir being a military base, I think, there. But the programs have been in demand. I mean, Northern Virginia was a different of the three. When I say there are three, Northern Virginia, Montgomery County, and Prince George's, in that there was no first tee. So we're kind of starting from the ground up with those program locations. Whereas in Montgomery County, you had existing programs, existing program locations, and existing coaches, which was great. And then similar in Prince George's County, although that program had gone away for a better part of a year.
So it sounds like the program's doing fantastic. A couple questions. I mean, so part of this podcast had great conversations with Joey, Christina, Eugene, Daryn, Diego, all exemplifying what the first tee is all about. All kids that have stuck through the first tee well into high school. A couple of kids in college. I don't even know if you can still call them kids. But my question for you is, you've expanded to 22 locations, 2,000 kids. Like, do you want to get bigger? I mean, is part of your goal to be at every course and just keep growing and growing?
No, honestly.
Or is there a cap here?
It's really not. I mean, I don't want to cap us at a number, but I would say really, and I would speak for I'd speak for the, definitely our chapter, but really kind of the first tee, from a, headquarters standpoint, not that I work for the headquarters, but really there's a push to make more impact. So, deepen the impact you have with the kids that you are working with, or find new kids in places that are not, that they're not currently serving. But I think it's great. It's really that greater impact. I think you mentioned the five young people, 2 are in college, you mentioned Eugene and Daryn, and then Christina, and Diego and Joey, right? Josephine was the other one.
Yep.
So Alex, I mean, those kids, the one thing they have in common, they have a lot in common, but the one thing is they really learned the sport with the first tee. They've really been with us for 7 to 10 years. Diego was with us when he was, 5 or 6 years old. His brother was, his older brother was 7 or 8. So, I mean, I think they've grown up with us, and we've kind of, scaled our impact with them. And there's kids before that were like that. Leonard comes to mind. You've interviewed Leonard, I believe. And there's kids that'll come after these 5 great young people that you've interviewed. So yeah, but I think we want to have more of an impact. There's no magic number. Of course, 2,000 is a nice milestone. But there's not, and there's a lot more than 22 green grass golf courses in the area. But our goal is not to get, to every golf course.
Geographically, can you go wider? Because there's certainly one, and you obviously the answer to this. There's a first tee in Baltimore. There's one in Richmond? Is there one in Fredericksburg, or is there one on the Eastern Shore, anything like that?
Yeah, there's really not. I mean, I think to answer your question, I think we are pretty much set where we are right now with DC. Okay. We feel like it took a long time to unify the first tee brand across the Beltway. But now we've done that. I mean, I think when people think about the Capital Beltway, the Washington metropolitan area, Alex, they think about DC, Montgomery County, Prince George's County, and Northern Virginia, and specifically, Loudoun, Fairfax, and, throw in Arlington. So that's really that's our demo. That's really where we want to have greater impact. I don't think the organization, a goal to expand into some of those other areas you mentioned, or, take over, consolidate with have another chapter consolidate with us that's nearby. That's not what we want to do right now. And there are chapters doing some great work, like the first tee of Baltimore, I mentioned the First Tee of Prince William County, which is a smaller chapter, but is run by the First Tee of Howard County. So I mean, there's some other great chapters that we work with, that we have what I would call extracurricular with. We have some tournaments, the First Tee Metro Tour series, those kinds of things where we're providing opportunities to our kids to compete and make friends at chapters that are nearby but that are not their own chapter.
One of the things that, and I kind of already just mentioned this, but that's in common with the 5 young folks that we've already had on the podcast, is they all played high school golf. They all played for their high school team at a high level, but they also all continued working with First Tee through high school, and I mentioned this on a couple of conversations with them. Like, honestly, I didn't even think, even after the interview I did with you on this podcast a couple of years ago, I wasn't, maybe because I hadn't really thought about it, but I wasn't really aware that was a thing. Like to stick with it through high school, especially when you're playing on a high school team. Is that kind of, I guess my question is there any kind of initiative to get more of that, to get kids to stay with First Tee longer?
Yeah, I mean, I think there is. I mean, then I can definitely speak to the home office, the headquarters of First Tee now. I mean, I think, one of their big initiatives is teenagers and really increasing the percentage of teens in the program. We've taken some steps to that end. And that kind of ties into retention too. The longer the kids are going to stay the program, the older the kids are going to get. Obviously, you kind of have 2 of those equations solved: retention, but plus as the kids get older, because we do start at 7, which I think your son is 7 or 8. Is that right?
Still 7. Yeah, but as soon as he turned 7, I got him signed up first one.
Like I said, Diego was like that. Josephine, Joey Nguyen was like that. Christina was like that. And I'm not sure about Eugene. Daryn was with us really, as a young, 9 or 10 years old too. But anyway, I mean, I think that's certainly the initiative, and certainly one of our goals is to have more teenagers in the program and then retain more kids.
Well, I was impressed by all 5 of them. A lot of energy, a lot of enthusiasm, not just for First Tee, but for the game of golf. And I think each one of them talked about, sticking with it for the long term and kind of being a game that they love and continuing to work with First Tee in some form or fashion, even as they age out of being a student, if you will. What about, so obviously fundraising is a huge piece of the First Tee to make the whole kind of engine work. And I don't know if this is more about the same, but you're up to about what?
We have eight fundraising events this year that our chapter, runs. And so, yeah, it's a big part. Events are a big part of most First Tee chapters. They're certainly a big part of our chapter, excuse me. And our budget has grown. I mean, I think there's the other side of the coin. As your programs grow, your budget's going to grow. And so 10, 11 years ago, under $400,000, and now one of 1.5, a little over $1.5 million. So quite an increase there. But obviously we had, quite an increase in program locations, quite an increase in number of, kids impacted in that time frame as well. So, but I would say, yes, about over 60% of our fundraising revenue does come from our events.
Got it. Where, if I may ask, where does the other 40% come from? Is that just from kind of,
Yeah, about 25% is from grants and foundations.
Okay.
Some of those grants are from the home office that we have to apply for. And then about 10% is from individuals, individual donations. Our First Tee auction, which definitely falls under the individual realm, that's probably going to be closer to 15% this year, because our silent auction did really well. It continues to do really well each year, but we had the best year we've had. And then about 5 to 7% is from, the corporate donations that are not tied to an event at all.
Do you, and this maybe is a naive question, but because First Tee is a national organization, but there's so many chapters, and it seems like First Tee of Greater Washington, D.C., again, from the outside looking in and from all the numbers that we just talked about, is doing gangbusters, growing 22 different locations, 2,000 kids. Do you compare yourself with other First Tee chapters? Does First Tee National, I don't know, is there some kind of competition? How does it all?
Yes and yes, I guess. So I'd say, we're competitive by nature, Alex. I mean, we're an organization that uses sports as a vehicle. So And golf is, can be very competitive. So by that, I think just it's our nature to be competitive with our other, chapters, whether they're, close by or whether they're, the First Tee at Philadelphia or what have you. But the home office, First Tee HQ, definitely holds chapters accountable, and they have for years. Ever since I've been here, they've changed their mechanisms for doing that and their metrics for doing that. But they definitely, each year we are held accountable, and we are measured against or alongside, however you want to say it, other chapters that are of similar market size to us. And not necessarily chapters that are in our backyard, but similar market size and similar budget size. When I say market, it's really like how many people live in the area, how many young people between the ages of 7 and 18 live in the area. So there are about 16 chapters in our group that we are benchmarked against, and we've done very well the last few years in that.
Interesting. Regard. Can that, where you stand in that group or how you perform, kind of impact some of those grants or the way that things are?
It can not on a huge level, but it certainly can. Yeah, it definitely behooves you to do well.
Certainly. I don't think 2 years ago when we did the podcast, there was news out about your new headquarters coming to Rock Creek. Is that still happening?
Yeah. So that's, that's a big part of our, plans right now. And we've, I think back then we were probably conceptually, we were talking to National League Trust. I can't remember if they had won the bid yet at the time or not, but I know they got the bid. I think they had. To late 2020, Alex. The bid was awarded in late 2020 or early 21 to take over the long-term lease or be awarded a long-term lease. There was no long-term lease before of the National Park Service golf courses, Rock Creek being one of them. And so, we've never really had a true home or true headquarters. Yes, we run programming at all three of those facilities, but really never had a place to, call our home, to have, that signage, then to have the kids come from the community and know that this is where the First Tee is. And, now we're going to have that, and we're getting closer. We've got a great partnership with National Links Trust. That's, we've worked parallel with them the last 2 years. We're a community partner of theirs. While that's gone on, we've had a lot of our leadership, several of our board members, serve on a facility committee alongside me. We really try to get this deal done where we would have a home at Rock Creek, and it would be part of a brand new building that National Links Trust will build out there. And it's going to be a 10,000 square foot. I believe phase one of the program is a 10,000 square foot clubhouse with a restaurant and a driving range, a 2-level driving range. Within that, Alex, our headquarters would sit, and that would be about a 2,500 square foot space within that clubhouse driving range of administrative space, of the classroom, conference room, and then also of some hitting bays and practice hitting bays, indoor putting green, those kinds of things. So a transformative opportunity for our chapter, and, one that we are excited about. It's not going to come at no cost. I mean, we've got to work together and raise money for it. And that's what our board is poised to do through a capital campaign, which we are looking to launch at the start of 2024.
That's super exciting. I think that most golfers around here are excited just for the transformation of Rock Creek, but just the clubhouse. I know that's the clubhouse and the driving range are the kind of the first phase of that whole project.
One, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and phase two would be the golf courses. Yeah, exactly.
And for the First Tee, correct me if I'm wrong, you guys are, because you used to have kind of an office kind of in the basement of East Potomac, but that's been gone for a while, right?
Yeah, it has been gone for a while, and we really use that space now as storage. I mean, we've outgrown the space, and B, there've just been, so that's an old building, obviously, and they know that, and we know that too. And it's just, it's a space we've outgrown. It worked for us, about a decade ago or so, but now we really use it as storage, and it's a big program location for us, East Potomac is.
So that's, like you said, that's going to be huge for the chapter to have this kind of home office, especially at a brand new facility, and all the excitement that's going around with the renovation at Rock Creek and everything that National Links Trust is doing. we talked about a lot of the numbers. We talked about the growth. We talked about, you want to continue to grow, but, you want to get too big. When you look at your own role and kind of, look at your chapter, like, where do you see First Tee Greater Washington, D.C. 5-10 years? Like, where can you get better? Where can you grow? Like, what's the future?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think it starts with what we just talked about. I think having that home will help tremendously. Will help impact our work in the community, but really speaking just to the DC community right now. But certainly longer term, I think there's probably going to be other similar opportunities. Whether that's in Northern Virginia or Montgomery County. I mean, you just don't know. 5 to 10 years, to think that we'd be here 10 years ago where we are right now. It's kind of hard to say, but I would say, from a strategic standpoint, definitely want to keep having a great impact on the kids that we're serving, and also try to get into a lot of the communities that we're not yet having a really big impact on. There's no matter what communities, kids come from, they can all use the First Tee and utilize the skills that we teach. As you talk, you spoke so eloquently today about, the 5 kids that you had a chance to meet and to talk to. I think that's something that we want to make sure that we're impacting and really providing those great opportunities to the kids.
The recent kind of golf boom during and post COVID, I imagine on the one hand, it's, in helped get more kids enrolled in the program as golf has kind of had this resurgence in popularity over the last 3 years. But is that also, it's also become really hard to get a tee time. Is that hard? Yeah. Is that make it more difficult for your chapter to kind of get some time out on the courses?
It can. I would say for the majority of our programming, our programming is done more on the driving range. And I think, this is really more done on the practice facility and the driving range. The kids that we, start with, for the most part, they're not, there are some kids that are golf course ready as really young people, but for the most part, they got to start on the driving range. They got to start on the practice green, the chipping green, what have you. So, we're not like swallowing up a lot of tee times in our program. So, but there's still, spatial, concerns, obviously, with, more people coming to golf courses. So, I mean, we saw a little bit of that. I think we saw a little bit of that more, in 21, I would say, 22, than we're seeing now. But yeah, I mean, I think you're right on. It is definitely harder to get a tee time for sure.
Yeah. Well, I'm a fan of what you're doing. Certainly a fan of the chapter. My son had a great time and a great experience this spring. He did 2 sessions this spring, and we're going to get him back out there soon. We're actually playing. We enrolled in the father-son tournament, I think, this fall, which is our first.
It's going to be great.
Parent-child, right? Parent-child.
Yeah, that's right.
And
parent-child.
That's our
adult-child. Yeah, that's great.
And that's our first experience kind of doing any kind of competition. So I'm beyond pumped for that. So thank you for giving us that opportunity. Yeah, but I'm a believer in your chapter.
Well, I appreciate that. I know you are, man, and you're a true friend. And, I know you've supported our chapter for many years. And, I'd be remiss if I didn't say, speaking of events, it was great to have you out with us at Riverbend. And I was really glad that, we had Ryan Zimmerman as a special guest, and you got to spend a little bit of time with him too.
Yeah, he was great. I only got to see him see one swing of his. Do you have a critique of his game?
I didn't see him play, but I know he's a really good golfer. He said he played okay. I mean, there was a couple stories in there. A couple of his drives were really far. I know he's a really solid player. I think he's about a 4 or 5 handicap who hits the ball a long way. But I didn't get a chance to play with him, and that's completely fine. But yeah, I know he loves to play. I know that.
Yeah. No, he's I think just a couple of days before that, because I brought this up to him, you forget that even baseball players sometimes get knocked for not being the greatest athletes. And he posted a picture on his social media of him dunking on a 10-foot rim at whatever age he is in his drive.
He did the Michael Jordan. He stuck his tongue out afterwards. That's funny. I'm so glad you saw that. Yeah, I saw that too. That was funny.
Pretty impressive. All right. Well, we can let it go there. This has been great. I really enjoyed getting to meet and chatting with all 5 kids. And I appreciate you coming on the podcast again.
They're awesome, man, and they're true. You know, we talk about the term game changers a lot, and they definitely are game changers in our chapter. They're kids that are looked up to, and you know, they're star kids, and other kids look up to them, and it's awesome. They're making a difference in our chapter, and that shows. I'm glad you got to see a little bit of that.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, thank you, Clint. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Alex. Really appreciate it, man. Have a good one.
I don't have a good golf game, but I don't really care. I'm a regular dude living in DC, and I want to know about DC-centric golf stuff. If you can tell me something that I don't already know, then that is great for me. I don't want the regular stuff. I want exciting stuff. I want different stuff. I want stuff I can't hear elsewhere. But I want it to be about DC golf.